Joan of Arc, also known as Jeanne d'Arc in France, 24 years after her death, was born during the Hundred Years' War between France and England, which started in the year 1337 because of England's desire to take the French throne, causing a recession in France's economy. In the year 1412 in Domremy, a petit village in the Meuse village, Duchy of Bar, currently in the Vosges subsection or department in northeast of the Kingdom of France, to a peasant family owning property and land in especially large amounts. Her father Jacques d'Arc was a farmhand farmer in possession of approximately 50 acres of land, 20 ha, while also being a tax collector and an administrator of the community, leading the regional watch he was in, to boost his family's proceeds. Her mother was Isabella Rome, who blessed her husband with 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. It is unknown the exact date she was born, also having the details concerning her age indistinct. Joan was an illiterate in her childhood days, so whenever she had to get something in writing, she would say aloud what she wanted her letters to entail so it would be written down. Many of the letters required her name to be inscribed on them, so there is a possibility she may have how to do so to indicate that she is the sender of the letter by inscribing the name Jeanne la Pucelle, Joan the Maiden, bringing to attention that she is still pure and hasn't been sexually involved with anyone. She became known as the Maid of Orleans during the 16th century. Joan's early life. Joan was engaged in numerous homes making activities, domestic arts, lent her father a helping hand in fieldwork and tending to the animals, and twisted wool in her early years. Isabel, Joan's mother, prepared and nurtured her in religious teaching, which helped in spiritual growth. She was also a regular mass attendant. A great deal of the community she lived in was in the Duchy of Bar, which had an uncertain primitive ranking, with their loyalty being to Armagnac. 7 years after her birth, her village was assaulted along with their cows getting looted. This stirred up Joan into involving herself in what she had to witness. The assault led to the French having lost their sense of hospitality and suggesting the English be banished from their territory if they are to attain a peaceful living. At the age of 13, Joan gave evidence of having had an encounter in the garden with a feature claiming to be Saint Michael, who was as well encompassed by a host of angels. This wasn't the only encounter she had with Saint Michael. It was frequent, and subsequently she had encounters with other saints that were well known amongst the people of France. She revealed the encounters to occasionally happen through visions whenever the church bells rung, and crying hysterically because she wanted to tag along with them. The other saints that appeared to her were virgin saints, namely Saint Margaret of Antioch and Catherine of Alexander. These saints served as symbols of defense on behalf of the people of France against their enemies, and during that time their enemies were the people of England, who wanted so fiercely to claim the French throne. She attested that she made an oath of promise to remain sexually pure, and this was her statement remained as such even after being accused of being unfaithful and committing adultery. The case was treated as unworthy after Joan clearly expressed she hadn't made any pledge to him. Prophecies ascribed to 2 people were told about a virgin woman who would free France from the clutches of England someday, and Joan, being the maiden that she is believed she was, the virgin woman being prophesied about, so took it upon herself to set France free. These prophecies were ascribed by Marie Robine of Avignon through visions she had, vowing an armed virgin would come forth to save France, and Merlin, who said that a virgin carrying a banner would put an end to France's suffering. In the year 1428 of May, she requested her uncle to send her to a city not far off called Vaucouleurs to make an appeal to Robert de Baudricourt, the garrison commander, to guard her with equipped firearms to the courts of Armagnac at Chinon, to which he refused without second thoughts, asked her to return home. And not long after 2 months, July, was the city assaulted with fire by Burgundian corps. This was a great loss for the people in the city. This forced Joan, her family, as well as the people of the town, to move away from their homestead. She returned to the garrison commander in January of 1429 to make the same appeal, and received the same reaction from Robert de Baudricourt, only this time she had Baudricourt's military men, namely Bertrand de Poulengy and Jean de Metz, supporting her cause. In other news, Joan d'Arc's presence was requested under safeguard to Nancy by Charles II, Duke of Lorraine, who had heard of Joan and believed she possessed heavenly powers which could heal him from his sickness, only to be rebuked for sharing a roof with his concubine. The English still carried on with their attempt to seize France, and this mainly headed by the brothers of Henry V, namely Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester, and John of Lancaster, 1st Duke of Bedford. Many parts of France were under the control of Anglo-Burgundian. They had the populous city of Reims under their jurisdiction, where at the time Charles had not been crowned king yet. Reims was a place where being coronated validated one's assertion to the throne. While many things such as the English, on a quest to encircle Orleans and almost making it solitary from the other terrains Charles controlled by overtaking the little cities on the Loire River went on, it had become more pressing for Joan to leave her homestead, Domremy, to offer support to Dauphin Charles, since it was around this time in July 1428 that she gave a testament of her visions telling her to do so. The garrison commander finally accepted to meet Joan in the year 1429 of February, when the English had possessed through coercion the Armagnac relief convoy during their quest to encircle Orleans at the Battle of Rouvray, the 12th of February 1429, also known as the Battle of the Herrings. What induced the battle was set into motion by the escalating tensions between the French and English during the latter half of the medieval era. It was a time when power struggles and territorial disputes raged across Europe, and the 100 Years' War between the two nations was at its peak. In the throes of this prolonged conflict, the city of Orleans found itself under the intense siege of the English army since the previous October. The English, eager to assert their dominance over French territories, sought to tighten their grip on Orleans as it held strategic importance. The city's fall could prove pivotal in advancing the English agenda. However, the French and their allies were not willing to relinquish Orleans without a fight. Seeking to break the relentless siege, they devised a daring plan to disrupt the English supply lines and weaken their encirclement. Under the command of Charles of Bourbon, a prominent military leader, and Sir John Stewart of Darnley, a skilled Scottish commander, a joint expedition was organized to intercept a crucial supply convoy bound for the English forces stationed at Orleans. Robert de Baudricourt, after a discussion with the two soldiers who were in support of Joan, was persuaded to grant her an entourage of 6 soldiers equipped with firearms to guard her through enemy terrains to speak to Dauphin, and to achieve that she disguised herself as a man for the journey ahead of her on February 13th, which lasted for 11 days. She made her way straight to the castle to see Dauphin Charles, but was not given an audience until 2 days after because his advisors had given him conflicting advice. On the day he met Charles, he hid himself among the people of his court, but wasn't successful in hiding because Joan easily located him. She made case known to send Dauphin Charles to Reims to be crowned king, but was sent to be interrogated by priestly authorities. Joan achieved all she had set out to do in order to free France from England's attempt to claim the French throne, and succeeded in helping Dauphin Charles get crowned king in Reims, and also leading many to war after having to watch their enemies harm the French. She was also caught by her enemies, accused, and proclaimed guilty of heresy at 19 years. She then died on the 30th of May 1431 in Rouen, France, after being burned at the stake.